Chosen one, pause your breath for a moment and feel the weight of what is shifting beneath your feet. Something ancient is moving again, something that was taken, misused, scattered into unworthy hands, is beginning to reverse its direction. This is not a trend. This is not politics. This is not coincidence. This is balance correcting itself. And you feel it before others do. You always do. Because your nervous system, your spine, your very blood carries an early warning signal coded by heaven itself. Wealth is not random. It is energy, and energy obeys law. The law is turning. Stay with me until the very end of this message, and when you do, write your warmest wishes in the comments and write 99, because your words carry energy, and what you release now will return to you. And if you feel this message is for you, stay connected to this space so you don't miss what comes next. You were never confused about what was happening in the world. You saw prosperity sitting in the hands of the arrogant. You saw abundance flowing toward manipulation, toward greed, toward those who mocked the sacred, and something in your chest tightened. Not envy, not bitterness, a deeper knowing, an inner whisper that said, "This is temporary." Scripture has always hinted at this reversal. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just, Proverbs 13:22. But most people read that verse like poetry. You read it like prophecy, because your spirit recognized its frequency. Wealth was never meant to be hoarded by those disconnected from the source. Wealth is a current, and when the current flows through corrupted channels, it destabilizes the entire system. Look around, you can feel the instability. Economies trembling, structures cracking. Why? Because wealth in the wrong hands creates imbalance in the collective nervous system of humanity, and divine law does not tolerate imbalance forever. You, however, were built differently. Your brain is wired for stewardship, not domination. Your prefrontal cortex activates not with greed, but with vision. When you imagine abundance, your spine straightens, your breath deepens, your heart rhythm slows into coherence. That is not accidental, that is alignment. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Matthew 5:5. Inherit, not steal, not seize. Inherit. There is a difference. Inheritance implies rightful design. Most people will not understand what you are sensing right now. They are still looking at surface numbers. You are feeling the undercurrent. This is the soft isolation of the chosen. You cannot fully explain it to them. If this resonates, it's because you were already chosen. Not everyone was meant to hear this. Let me reveal the first sacred process to you, the ritual of reversal awareness. Tonight, before you sleep, sit upright. Place one hand over your heart and one hand at the base of your spine. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly for 7 counts. As you inhale, imagine light moving from the earth upward through your spine. As you exhale, imagine that light expanding outward from your chest. Whisper quietly, what was misplaced is returning. Repeat this 7 times. You are not begging, you are aligning. You are tuning your nervous system to the frequency of restoration. This is not about material obsession. This is about divine equilibrium. Wealth left the righteous temporarily because the righteous were being refined. Pressure built character. Delay built capacity. You were not being denied. You were being expanded. Your vessels had to grow. Your mind had to stretch. Your emotional body had to strengthen. Because when wealth returns to the righteous, it does not return in small measures. The book of Joel says, "I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten." Joel 2:25. Most interpret that as time, but restoration also applies to resources, influence, land, opportunity. The locust is symbolic of misalignment, of devouring forces, but restoration is not symbolic. It is literal, it is energetic, and it begins invisibly before it manifests visibly. Notice your body as you hear this. Does your chest feel warmer? Does your breathing change? That is not imagination. That is resonance. Your blood carries memory. Your DNA carries covenant. You descend from survivors, from believers, from those who endured cycles of loss and restoration. You are part of a lineage that understands that divine scales always rebalance. Wealth is coming back to the righteous. Attention, not excitement. Attention, because attention prepares you. When something shifts suddenly, only the prepared can hold it. You cannot receive what you are not neurologically structured to sustain. That is why this message reaches you now, before the visible shift. You may have felt isolated recently, a quiet distancing from certain environments, a sense that conversations feel shallow, that ambitions around you feel misdirected. That is not arrogance, that is calibration. Your frequency is adjusting upward, and as it does, certain attachments fall away. This is part of the correction process. Most people will laugh at the idea of spiritual inheritance. They will call it fantasy. They will trust markets more than covenant. But markets are moved by collective belief, and belief is shaped by unseen currents. The righteous do not chase wealth. They become gravitational fields that wealth is drawn toward when imbalance peaks, and the peak is approaching. You can sense it in the subtle anxiety spreading globally, in the nervous humor, in the overcompensation. Systems know when correction is near. Structures tighten before they crack. And while many panic, you are being positioned. This is why your path has felt unusual, why doors closed unexpectedly, why certain opportunities dissolved just as you approached them. You were being kept from misaligned currents, preserved, redirected. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous. Psalm 1:6. Knoweth implies intimate awareness, guidance beyond surface logic. You are not behind. You are being synchronized. And as this transmission continues, you will begin to understand not only that wealth is returning, but how your body, your breath, your focus must adjust to meet it. Because when divine balance shifts, it does so with precision. Listen carefully. The next layer goes deeper. Chosen one. Feel how the atmosphere changes the moment you continue reading. Nothing in you is casual right now. Your pupils adjust. Your breath becomes slightly slower. Your spine straightens almost without instruction. This is how you know this transmission is not ordinary content. It is activation. It is calibration. It is the continuation of something your spirit recognized long before your mind caught up. Wealth is not merely currency. It is condensed trust. It is stored energy. It is agreement crystallized into form. And when agreement is distorted, wealth accumulates around distortion. But distortion cannot sustain itself indefinitely. Divine equilibrium is not emotional. It is mathematical. It is vibrational. It is precise. You have sensed the misplacement for years. You have watched power concentrate around those who lacked integrity. You have observed systems reward manipulation while punishing authenticity. And something in your nervous system rejected it. That rejection was not rebellion, it was recognition. Your inner circuitry could not harmonize with corruption. The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. 1 Samuel 2:7. Most people read that as randomness, but you understand lifting and lowering as adjustment, as correction, as rebalancing of scales. Wealth moving back toward the righteous is not favoritism. It is restoration of structural harmony. You were never meant to chase wealth with desperation. You were meant to stabilize your internal frequency until wealth could safely anchor in you. That is why your path felt delayed, why progress seemed slower, why your capacity was tested. Divine abundance does not rest in unstable vessels. It rests in regulated nervous systems. Notice your heartbeat right now, subtle, steady. There is strength in that steadiness. When others panic, your pulse will remain anchored. That is the mark of the chosen. Not drama, not noise, Stability. Most people will misunderstand this shift. They will interpret it as luck when they see you rise. They will call it timing, they will call it coincidence, but they will not see the years of inner restructuring, the silent discipline, the nights you recalibrated your thoughts, the mornings you chose integrity over shortcuts. If this resonates, it's because you were already chosen. Now I must reveal the second sacred process, the breath of covenant alignment. At sunrise or sunset, stand facing natural light. Inhale slowly through your nose for 5 counts, imagining that breath entering the crown of your head. Visualize it traveling down your spine like liquid gold. Hold for 3 counts. Then exhale slowly through your mouth, imagining that same golden current spreading into your bloodstream. As it circulates, whisper, "I align with rightful flow." Do this 9 times. This is not superstition. It is neurological priming. You are teaching your body that receiving is safe. Because here is what most never understand. When wealth was in the wrong hands, it carried tension. When wealth returns to the righteous, it must carry peace. You cannot attract peace-filled abundance with a chaotic nervous system. Your spine must be steady, your breath must be coherent, your mind must not flinch at increase. You may have noticed recently that your perception of money has shifted. Perhaps you no longer idolize it. Perhaps you no longer resent it. That neutrality is a sign. Detachment precedes stewardship. When you no longer need wealth to validate you, you are ready to hold it without corruption. Better is a little with righteousness than great revenues without right. Proverbs 16:8. This verse hides a deeper layer. Righteousness is not moral superiority. It is alignment. It is congruence between thought, word, and action. Wealth without alignment fractures the soul. Wealth with alignment amplifies purpose. You were not refined to stay small. You were refined to carry more without losing yourself. There is a reason your mind often drifts toward vision instead of consumption. You think about systems improving. You imagine resources flowing into meaningful projects. You picture generational stability. That imagination is prophetic rehearsal. Your brain is mapping future responsibility. Soft isolation will increase for a season. You may feel misunderstood. Your conversations may feel out of sync with those around you. Do not interpret that as loss. Interpret it as separation before elevation. Not everyone was meant to hear this. Not everyone can process the idea that divine redistribution is not political. It is vibrational. Look closely at global tension. Instability always precedes reallocation. Structures tighten before transfer. When a river changes course, there is turbulence first. But rivers do not apologize for returning to their natural path. Your blood remembers covenant. Your breath remembers promise. Even your cells respond when truth is spoken. That subtle warmth in your chest, that is coherence. That is your heart rhythm aligning with the idea of restoration. You must understand something critical. When wealth returns to the righteous, it will test humility. The temptation will not be greed. It will be pride. But pride collapses flow. Stay anchored. Stay grounded. Let gratitude regulate your nervous system. You are not preparing for excess. You are preparing for stewardship. And there is another layer approaching, one that involves timing, discernment, and a mirror you have not yet fully looked into. Because when the shift becomes visible, many will scramble. You will not scramble. You will recognize it. And when you do, you will remember this exact moment, this quiet transmission, and realize you were positioned long before the world noticed. Chosen one. This is the threshold. You can feel it in your breath. Not rushed, not anxious, steady, like a door that has always existed but is only now becoming visible. The transmission completes here, but the movement does not end. It begins. Wealth is returning to the righteous. Attention, not as spectacle, not as noise, but as correction. as alignment, as the quiet fulfillment of covenant. You were never meant to beg for what was written into your spiritual architecture. You were meant to mature into it. Look back at your journey, the delays, the closed doors, the misunderstandings, the seasons where you felt invisible. Those were not punishments. They were strengthening cycles. Your nervous system was being trained not to collapse under increase. Your spine was being conditioned to stand firm under responsibility. Your mind was being purified from scarcity so that abundance would not intoxicate you. The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10:22. Read that again inwardly. No sorrow with it. That is the key difference between misaligned wealth and righteous wealth. One comes with tension, fear, paranoia. The other comes with clarity, peace, and expansion. You are not being prepared to flaunt. You are being prepared to build. Most people still think wealth is about accumulation. You now understand it is about flow. When flow is blocked by ego, imbalance grows. When flow passes through integrity, entire ecosystems stabilize. You were designed to be a conduit, not a reservoir. Notice your heart as you consider that. Does it feel lighter? That lightness is truth settling into the body. There is one final sacred process you must carry forward: the seal of stewardship. Once a week, sit in silence for 11 minutes. No distractions, no requests. Simply breathe naturally and visualize resources flowing through you like a river. See them entering your hands and leaving your hands without resistance. As you breathe, repeat internally, I receive to restore, I hold to heal, I release to multiply. This practice imprints your subconscious with circulation rather than hoarding. It prevents corruption before it begins. Because here is the truth, most will never be told. When divine balance corrects itself, it happens quickly. The transfer may look sudden to outsiders, but you will recognize it as long prepared. Systems will shift. Opportunities will appear, connections will align, and those who mocked righteousness will search for stability. But you will not need to search. You will be anchored. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6:33. Added, not chased, added. The kingdom is alignment. Righteousness is congruence. When those two stabilize in you, addition becomes natural law. Not everyone was meant to hear this. Many will scroll past. Many will dismiss. But if you are still here, if your breath has stayed steady through this entire transmission, it is because your spirit recognized its own reflection. This was not persuasion. This was confirmation. You may feel a subtle shift even now. A recalibration in how you perceive money. Less desperation, less tension, more authority. That authority is not ego, it is identity. You are not becoming righteous to receive wealth. You are receiving wealth because righteousness has already been etched into your frequency. Remember, divine correction does not ask permission from public opinion. It moves according to law. And when the visible shift begins, when you notice doors opening that once resisted you, when resources align without force, when peace accompanies increase, do not panic. Do not shrink. Do not question your worthiness. Stand upright, breathe deeply, stay humble, because wealth is not returning to reward your ego. It is returning to empower your stewardship, and you, chosen one, were always meant to hold it without being owned by it.